To start? Alright, so we're ready to rock and roll. Another episode. Welcome to another Creative Spin podcast with my beautiful, amazing,
Okay, you got me the coffee, so that's it.
I feel like this is gonna be part of the intro from now on.
Why?
Because I think it's just, people are liking it.
Really?
Yeah, even if it's just
doubt
me,
it.
I'm a person, so it's... And we also have Loki here, which
As usual, he's enjoying himself.
he's just laying down there looking at us, trying to keep everything nice and safe for us, because that's his duty as a guard dog. But he's sleeping again. All right, so it's interesting. The topic, the way that we chose the topic today, has a lot to do with a lot of the stuff that was going on in our lives this week. And why does my voice go like that? I don't know.
Because you're tired.
It's puberty.
I was going to say it.
Speaking of age, the topic is really going to be about that. Yeah. So I wanted us to kind of talk a little bit about this whole debate about generations, mm-hmm. and how we're able to or not to communicate well with other generations.
How creative are we?
How creative you need to get with the older generation and the younger generation in order to have a good sense of communication. I have a hair in my eye somehow.
Okay. I can slap you if you want.
No, it's okay. Listen, old lady, we're good. I just wanted to bring it back to the topic. Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, are you ready?
I am. Yeah. I mean, the age, the years of wisdom.
You're okay. All right. So let's. Boom. Did you like that? That was so lame. That was such a dad.
You're always making fun of my sound effects, but yours, I'm telling you.
That was such a dad-like thing to do. Like pa-dam-ping.
Oh my God.
Anyways, hit the intro. Today's podcast is brought to you by Workplace One, a company offering boutique private offices, co-working spaces, and virtual office solutions, as well as meeting rooms in the best neighborhoods of Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo. Ideal for entrepreneurs, companies, and passionate business people. Workplace One is where you want to be with your business. For more information, go over to workplaceone.com. There you go. All right, so let's talk about generations. So we're part of the Gen X. It's actually a cool name, Gen X. Basically, Gen X is anyone who was born anywhere between 65 and 79ish, something like that. I'll look at my notes just to confirm. 9. Yeah, it is. Our parents' generation, they're obviously they're the baby boomers, mm-hmm. Anywhere from 46 to 64. So those are the people we usually have to deal with when it comes to older people. And then the younger generation, which are the millennials, or also known as Generation Y. That span from 1980 to the 90s, and there's no real
90s, isn't it?
One of the things that from the bit of a research that I did here online is that there's not a specific. It's from 90 to it's the 90s.
The 90s.
So it can be because
then you have our kids' generation.
Yes, the kids' generation is Gen Z.
You like saying Z?
Z. I don't know why. I guess for fellow Americans that makes more sense to them. We're the Z, they're the Z. I don't know. They're also called iGen or Centennials. I don't know why Centennials didn't...
Century.
I know, but I'm saying I don't know why Centennials didn't pick up... You know what I mean? Like the name. I think it would make more sense to say Centennials.
Yeah. I think it's because of the millennials.
You don't want to get confused, I guess. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
But it would have made more sense to go millennials, Centennials. But...
Yeah. See? There you go.
Anyway, so... This is the thing. There's always such a huge debate on this, right? And a lot of the debate, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I hear is our generation, Generation X, always complaining about the millennials. It's true. It is what it is. It is what it is. And even though, there might be some points that, fine, there are some differences between the generations. I don't think we should be blaming any generation for anything.
No,
just the same way as we can't be really, really blaming our parents' generation, the baby boomers, because we have to take in account what happened to that generation, how they were brought up, right?
And certain behaviors are really affected by that. I work with millennials, and and I cannot say, well, the millennials are this versus the X. No, there are Generation X people that display certain behaviors like millennials do, and vice versa. I think it has to do with the way we're brought up, the way cultures moving, like migrations. I think all of this does play a role in who you are.
I think bottom line, it has to do with how the world has evolved.
Right?
One of the, I went to grab some little bits and pieces from a whole bunch of articles, and one of the things that they're saying here is that millennials, they're perceived to be obsessed with technology because, they grew up, and that's what it says. They grew up with iPhones and Twitter, and they're just able to access technology in an easier way.
But that's actually funny that you're saying that, because I actually went through the same thing. I remember growing up, and this is still back in Portugal when I was 11, 12 maybe. I remember my parents and my grandma even always yelling at me because I was always listening to music, because my Walkman.
Oh my God,
right?
a radio station, a Walkman?
She's always connected to that Walkman. She's always listening to music, right? And
it's gonna fry your brain.
And now that you're saying this, it just brought back those memories, right?
But it's true, and here we go. Every generation has their own thing.
Because I had a Walkman.
and then the older quote unquote generation is gonna criticize the younger one because.
Does everyone know what a Walkman is?
Probably.
Okay.
But this is the thing. Is it the younger generation's fault that the older generation decided to sit back and just let things go by? Because this whole the whole idea that the technology, the newer things are for the younger crowd, it's always confused me.
Yeah.
that excuse from the older generation, and that includes our generation as well. We hear a lot of our peers saying, kids nowadays, they're always on their phones and they're doing things that we don't understand.
And education shouldn't go through the iPhone.
And
blah,
there's
blah,
all
blah.
of that. But I think at the end of the day is people who complain about that are people who just let themselves go in terms of technology.
We are all capable of learning, yes.
100%. If you are older, this is my point of view. If you're older, you should know more. You should be the one teaching the younger generation because you have the basis of how that technology. Look at us. We remember the first cell phone coming out.
I mentioned the Walkman.
And you were just mentioning the Walkman and all that. So we've lived through all of these changes. We should be the ones keeping up with this. And it should be easier for us to kind of keep up with it because we've been evolving with it.
And one thing is that you and I have no problem admitting what we know and what we don't know. And we ask.
I think that's the most important thing.
I have no issues asking my kids, my students, how does this work if I don't know? And as you know, I work with a Mac. Sometimes I don't understand how certain functions are on a PC, and at school we work with PCs. Well, you know what? Why? I just say, anyone in here is an expert on, working on a PC? I need help. And
even in that aspect, things have changed now.
Yeah.
Programs are now very similar in both computers. We're old. I'm definitely old. So we go back to the time where if you used Word on a Mac and Word on a PC, it would be completely different.
Not anymore.
Photoshop and all that. It was such a different world that you couldn't transfer files over. You would always have some sort of issues going on. Nowadays, it's different.
Simpler,
it's so much easier now too. But going back to your point is you're not afraid to ask.
No.
And I think this is the biggest issue that I think there is when it comes to generational talk is really the lack of talk.
There you go. And a lot of times it's a really silly, simple thing. I just don't think about it, or I don't see it in front of me.
Do you think
right?
as we get older, we get that pride thing? I'm not going to ask anybody. I'm older, so I shouldn't be asking. Is that why?
I don't know. Because I don't. See, someone told me that teachers are sort of different because they never really leave school. So they, in a way, they never sort of grow up in the sense of developing that sort of, pride. I'm not going to ask. I have no issues, and I don't think I don't think it has to do with my profession. I think it has to do with who I am, but maybe it is my profession too. But I don't know. I do see some people saying, I'm not going to ask, a 16-year-old about this or that, where I'm like, I want to ask because they are the ones, using this all the time. And maybe they'll make my life easier with a shortcut, for example.
And it doesn't mean that you need to follow the trend of the younger generation just to keep yourself cool. It's not about following and all that, but it's about understanding.
It's about knowing.
And understanding more than anything.
Being educated.
We have a teenager in the house, and she has great taste in music, but a lot of the singers she listens to, we don't really connect well. But it doesn't mean that we don't know who they are and what kind of music they have, right? And I think that's the important step.
And it's showing that interest.
Exactly, and
connect.
It's the communication part between parents and kids, let's say in this example, is you don't need to sit down and listen to their music. You need to just know what it's about and understand that, just the same way that we don't really like their music too much, neither did our parents like our music too much.
I remember being...
So who's right in the whole grand scheme of things?
Yeah.
Nobody's right. This is a personal preference, and it's a generational preference, right?
And sometimes we forget that. I think that when we grow up, we forget that we were once kids and teenagers, and this is where
Stop punching the mic.
and this is where all these issues. Sometimes this is where I see all these issues. So, and what I mean by this is, growing up, I didn't appreciate my parents' generation, not my parents per se, but the generation, that group of people saying that, the rock that I was listening to, because I was always, I like all types of music.
Let's just put it out there. You're a rebel.
I like, as you know, I like pop. I can listen to jazz, but rock, not heavy. See, but not heavy metal. But I like, and I know you're a Metallica guy. Even though I like their music too. But anyways, I remember listening to my U2 and people saying, "Oh my God, they're so noisy. It's just noise. How do you listen to that? That's not even music." And I remember not liking comments like that. So why would I now say the same thing about the music that they're listening to? It just like my parents' generation could not identify with what I was listening to. It doesn't mean it's garbage. It's just different.
And this is where I think this happens at home. This happens at work. This happens anywhere.
Yeah.
And what turns out to be the biggest issue is that all of a sudden the communication just stops.
You break it.
You just break it because now, if you're younger, you're not going to say anything to the older guy because you're going to get criticized. So you just keep it quiet and you're not going to say anything. So, and that's going to happen at home. You're a young kid. You're in your teens. You're not going to talk to your parents because your parents are going to.
Rightly so.
You don't want to be bashed. You don't want to be put down. So that makes total sense that they're just going to shut down and not say anything. I had a friend of mine just the other day. He was asking me. He wasn't asking me. He was just commenting life in general. Oh, teenagers, how they are, how they don't talk, how they just shut themselves.
Were you like that? That's when I turned around and I said, were you like that?
But I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, I guess it doesn't happen in my house. We communicate, we talk. Why? I think it's because of this stuff.
And you don't need to agree. There you go. You can agree to disagree, and you need to teach that generation to respect what you like because you're showing them respect too. But if you're not showing respect for what they like, then you can't expect the same thing.
And the biggest thing I always have to say is, you know what? Don't criticize the younger generation because guess who raised them?
You did, yeah.
Aha! So you're basically criticizing yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like and then we label. Oh, it's the Generation X, it's the Y, it's the Z, it's whatever it is. But No.
Labels, because I don't identify myself with my generation if you're gonna put me in that bottle, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I've let technology pass by me. I don't feel like I am not up to date with things. So does that really make me a Generation X, or does that make me a millennial? Like, it's labels. No, what does that make me, right?
Yeah, you're just knowledgeable.
Because
you just choose to be educated about something.
Exactly. You're bottling people into groups based on assumptions, right? But not everybody's got that same that same view on things.
And one thing that sometimes makes me laugh is the I'm talking sometimes to colleagues of mine, and they say, "Oh, I don't have time for that. That's just stupid." And see, that's where it goes wrong. I don't have time for that. That's fine. It's when you add that stupid that is not fine.
Yeah.
Because it's not stupid. You don't have time. You don't have an interest. I respect it. That's your choice. Fine. But just because you don't like it, or you don't have time, or you don't want to do it, don't say that it's stupid for those who do it.
Your job is actually it's perfect for this example, because your Generation X, I'm sure you still have probably some baby boomers in your school teaching.
There are a few.
You definitely have millennials teaching as well now, right? I'm doing the math here,
I was going to say the major group, probably not yet, but they're getting there,
And then you're teaching the generation, this newer generation, the what do they call themselves now? Z, whatever. So you go through this, in which if you don't learn how to respect all these spectrums, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have a confusion of thoughts and ideas, and if you don't respect each other, it's just... But unfortunately, that's what happens, right?
Yeah, and then you're left thinking, my lessons are not successful. I can't connect with my students. There's this class management issues. Sometimes they are all provoked by that, right? And I love integrating technology into my lessons. Not only does it make my life easier in a lot of aspects.
Can you imagine?
It's interesting. It's different.
And you are still teaching, but you're getting the younger generation's attention because they were born into technology.
And one interesting thing I've been observing, especially this year, is if there's a package, because I teach languages and history, and especially in languages, sometimes there's the boring packages, I usually say it, and they love it when I say, this is boring, but you gotta do it this way, right?
Loki seems to find this podcast boring too, because he's sleeping.
So sometimes it's, really filling in the blanks or writing sentences because they're learning a language. And I find a lot of my students telling me, because I use Google Classroom, can you just put the link to the PDF, don't waste paper and photocopies, because we'll read it and then we'll answer just a word instead of, one page will fit all those answers that you otherwise would need like 5 pages for, right?
And that's a perfect example of how, you need to accommodate to other generations and know how to communicate with them the best way that they can communicate back to you. And this goes across the board. I know, and in our company, we talk a lot about social media and a lot about business and all of that. And it's exactly the same thing. Like, even bringing this whole generation thing into social media. I mean, I'm just thinking here, the way that people watch videos on social media or go through posts or use the platforms is a very, very different way, right? I mean, because the platforms themselves, they've aged with people, right?
Go with people.
And I mean, we've just recorded a podcast talking about the older creators,
the vintage
the vintage creators, hashtag vintage creators, and that is a perfect example. Is that all the platforms get older in terms of, I think the older generation kind of lets the younger one play with it, and then it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting, let me jump in, let me try it, let me see how I can work this out for my benefit as well. And then that's how things evolve. And you need to really be paying attention to that, because now, and we were having this conversation yesterday at a client's and with some other people there, and they brought up TikTok and all of that, and yeah, I mean, TikTok is the big thing now for the younger generation.
About it.
All the kids are on TikTok and playing around with it. Now, from a business standpoint, Depends. It depends on your business, right? And this is where you need to analyze things and not just, they're all in there, so I'm going to go in there. And
it
I'm
reminds me of the Snapchat fever, like whenever it came
Yeah,
around, it was the same thing. All the kids, and they still use it.
They still use it, and Snapchat chat did evolve, and older demographic is they're using it, but what I'm trying to say is that don't just jump into things because the younger generation is doing it,
cool,
and I'm gonna jump in because I want to stay cool and I want to do things. You got to really decide why you're doing it.
From using
why
this?
are you doing it?
Yeah.
If you have a business that caters to that age group, 100%, go for it. If your audience or rather your client base is going to be some 40s and up, probably TikTok is a waste of your time at this point. Yeah, you can always say, well, you need to start planting the seeds now to pick them up later, and then but hold on. If your demographic, if your client base is they're in their 40s, that means that these kids that are now 15, they have to be 40. So that's another 15 years. I don't know. TikTok might be the best thing in 15 years. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but it's a wild guess to say, oh, you know what? I'm really going to bet on TikTok right now so that my 40-year-old, 15 years in the future, they're going to be, it's not going to work. I don't think so. I might be wrong. Yeah. We'll see.
And then a lot of times just do a survey. See how, like the age group that you're interested in attracting, do a survey. How many of them use TikTok, for example, since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And then draw your conclusions from there, right?
Exactly.
If 80% come around and say, I don't even know what it is, then maybe you're wasting your energy and time.
Yeah.
But if 80% say, oh, that's really cool, I check it, then maybe you want to focus your attention there, right?
Time is really the essence of the whole thing, right?
Sure.
How
you're doing the same thing.
I know, I'm hitting this microphone. I apologize to everyone that's listening to this, and where was I? See, you interrupted me. Now I lost my train of thought.
I'm
my
sorry.
God! I'm an old guy, man.
Yeah, well,
I'm an old guy. You can't do this to me, because then I forget. What are we doing here? I
believe we were talking about age at the beginning, and I sort of got insulted. So there you go.
Well, listen, but now I completely lost the
TikTok.
You're talking about something about TikTok. I have to rewind this. But I got lost, and that this completely proves that old age has a very big effect on you. And but listen,
take notes as you
I'm
talk.
going to continue to try my best to keep up with technology, keep up with all this stuff, because I feel like I want to be 80 years old and still knowing what the heck is going on around me. And I highly suggest that you guys that are watching us or listening to us that are from our generation X or older, to keep up with the times and keep up with things, man.
You will find that you will connect with your kids a lot more.
Definitely with the kids. Ask them about stuff.
You develop a bond with your kids.
I think the take on all of this is you need to listen, you need to communicate, you need to remember that you should ask things, respect people, and stop labeling everybody with all these stupid labels just because my generation is better than your generation kind of idea. I think let's just stop this and let's keep educating ourselves with everybody. Work as a community. I think that's the best takeaway from all this conversation. Old lady, thank you for being here. I appreciate your age and wisdom. We are going to end this podcast. I'm being threatened. She's got the look of a killer. I don't know what's going on. I see my singing skills are so much better lately. Why are you still looking at me like that? Oh my God. All right, guys, hit that subscribe button before she kills me. Hit that bell notification if you're watching us on YouTube. I mean, do all the stuff that you want to do, or don't. If you don't want to do it, what am I going to do? I can't go out there.
We respect it.
We respect it. Let's talk. Communicate with us. Leave us some comments. Say, hey, you guys suck, or you guys are great, or what if you guys talk about this? What are your views on that?
Yeah, give us some topics. That's actually.
We're always looking for topics, man. Always looking for topics. So once again, old lady, I appreciate. Okay, I'm gonna end this before I get beaten up. Bye.